Our next guest is going to talk about his experience as director of the Real Food Festival, and in fact that really is a tiny version of what Phillip Lowery does. He also has a whole portfolio of events, and he, like many of the rest of us, is very much looking to the future and evolving the events that he's involved in. So enough of me, Phillip Lowery.
It's always quite good to get a clap before you talk, because if you don't like it, at least I've had some applause. Just checking this mic, can everyone hear me at the back? Yeah. I'm always cautious of asking that question. The last time I asked if anyone could hear me at the back, some bright spark at the back actually said, yes, but I'm prepared to move. I thought that was really fascinating, actually. And the whole social media, of course, from our perspective, is something that we're looking at really hard. I think it has its downsides as well, in that I was horrified to see the picture that Nick had got of me on the website promoting this, this conference. It's a picture we had on our website for about a week until I realised I looked like a gerbil and took it down. I'm astonished to find that it's still accessible, and that's, I think that's one of the issues with the internet and with social media and Facebook, is that, you know, once you've made an imprint, it's there forever for everyone to access. And I feel quite sorry for sort of young people now. I'm obviously a bit older. You know, in my day, 25 years ago, if you stupidly thought it would be a great idea to photocopy your backside and put it in the internal post, you know, in a week that would have died down. Nowadays, that photo, when someone Googles your name, that's the thing that they see forever. Anyway. That's a horrible thought, isn't it? So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm slightly anxious about this because obviously I was flattered when I was asked to come here and talk about my experience, particularly with the Real Food Festival, but with other festivals as well. And that flattery drove me to say yes, but as I got closer to this event, I thought, Christ, I've actually got to come and do this and talk to a room full of people who actually do this as well, and who am I to actually tell you what, you know, you should be doing and that I'm clever and you can learn from me. So you may not learn anything, but I'll talk for half an hour and hopefully you will listen. This is, gentleman here was talking about video, and I absolutely agree. I think video is the future. People are, you know, bandwidths are getting much bigger, and people can enjoy video. They can take film on their phones and upload it. So I think video is something that we all need to be thinking about, and it does give a much more three-dimensional impression of what you're doing to people who are vaguely interested. So this is a little video of our last Real Food Festival and sort of explains what we're about.
Well, like you, I love good food. Okay, there you got all the small producers, all the small artisans, the small farmers. Each of them have created their own adventure, okay, creating their own product from their local produce, from their local area. It's a lovely celebratory event. It's lovely.
Bring to you today the Real Sausage Challenge.
And the leaves are green, the road is solid brown. The soil.
They had done some lovely sausage, but one of them was amazing, and I may put it at the manor, whereas here was a black pudding. It gives a lovely texture and a wonderful flavour. I'll try them tonight. And they don't want to give me the recipe. A little beast.
'Cause I'm wandering, I found myself wandering way away underneath the stars and boulevards.
Everybody who has a farm or has a small production or something of a high quality to have this exposure in central London.
I mean, I don't know, I've been coming here from the first time, from when we start the show, and I'm always blown away by the quality of the ingredients that I found here. To come into a building like this and having all these people coming in is a beautiful and inspiring thing.
It shakes and vibrates as I pulsate with every...
It's really nice to go along, see local suppliers and see what they can produce.
People wouldn't really know anything about lots of these companies if we didn't have big exhibitions like this.
The breads have been absolutely knockout. The different types of bakeries joined the vegetable box scheme. It's been brilliant.
It's been excellent. We could do with it in Bristol rather than London.
I'm not going to tell you how much I spent. Oh, it's loads.
I bought plenty. Lots. I bought coffee, I bought chutneys, pickles, cakes. Yeah, really loved it.
It's amazing because you get to see the producers, particularly who we don't see in supermarkets. You know, I came last year, I really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd come back again this year.
'Cause I'm wondering, I found myself wondering where you're
or a piece of veal, then is a Dutch veal. This is what you get in a supermarket, and your butcher must tell you if it's in English, or if it's Dutch. If you tell your kids, they'll want to eat this one, that's for sure.
And that is only the juices of the octopus. There's nothing else in there except the white wine, the black peppers that's been cooked in its own juices with all that intensity.
Because nothing ever stays the same.
If it starts cracking and rising too much, you just got it too hot.
I would imagine that quite a few people are much more comfortable cooking meat at home than fish.
I found myself wondering where you're underneath the stars and boulevards, getting lost along the LA way. I'm wondering.
I've chopped up the chocolate for people to actually taste each chocolate individually, so they can see the different flavours reflected in the bar.
Singing, I'll get directions home from there.
I think it's been a really good experience. I'm glad we decided to come.
So that's sort of who we are. The Real Food Festival is our main festival, but we discovered that just running one food festival with a team of people is quite an expensive thing to do. So we've been looking at sort of branching out. We now run the Organic Food Festival that actually took place last weekend in Bristol, and we've just started looking at launching a series of real food markets, more of which later. I want to kick off, first of all, and talk a little bit about the market and where we're at. And I sort of think that's really about framing why we're doing this, why we're doing these sorts of food festivals. And these are just sort of a few random, actually unreadable statistics. The green's not working very well, is it? Oh, God. 53% of the population now buy food from farm shops, farmers markets and box schemes. That's a very high number. 62% of households are aware of a farmer's market in their area. Is that making any difference whatsoever?
No, I don't think so.
16%, only 16% believe that supermarkets are paying a fair price to their producers, a very low figure. 88% of people in this country buy organic. I mean, that's a staggeringly high penetration. People talk about organic only being for the sort of chattering middle classes, but 88% of people in a year buy some form of organic produce during that year. 3 in 5 people would pay a premium for British fruit and veg if they felt that it would help the British horticultural industry. And 81% think it's important or very important that the amount of fresh fruit and veg that is grown in the UK, that it is British. And then to sort of counterpoint that, 79% of food in the UK is bought from 4 shops, essentially. You know, the multiple retailers. So actually, there's a lot of information, a lot of research out there that suggests that we all want to be buying food that we understand a bit more about the provenance on, what we obviously call real food. Yet the reality is that most of us actually aren't. And I think that's an important factor when thinking about food festivals and thinking about the provision of food in the future, because obviously what the supermarkets have done is created so-called convenience, and I think that's where we need to be going and thinking in terms of how we deliver and how we help support a local and regional sort of food economy. I wanted to just also talk briefly, before I sort of set up the Real Food Festivals, I used to be commercial director at Brand Events, who also famously run Taste of London and Taste Festivals, in fact, which are now sort of an international brand that they've sort of formatted and taken around the world. And this is sort of about motivation, I guess, because I know a few people in the room here, and I know of and have been to some of the food festivals, and a lot of them come from a sort of a really deep passion and belief in terms of what you're delivering and what you're trying to do. On the other side, there's a very commercial method, which is demonstrated by, in particular, these two events. I'm not saying they're better or worse, they're different. Taste of London actually is a bit more restaurant focused, and the food side of it is a secondary sort of engagement with the audience. It's incredibly bottom line driven. I know because I used to work on it, and it's also an extremely successful event. It makes a great deal of money. And a lot of us in the sort of passion area often find it much harder and look at events like that and say, well, how the heck can they do it? And we're struggling. Well, part of the reason that they can do it is that it is a drive for money, and that is absolutely the sole driver. And if you have that view, then your process of content editorial editing is much less rigorous. And of course, you have to, by dint of selling tickets, provide an experience for the visitor, but it's a very different experience. And Taste of London is a fantastic experience. It's a very expensive experience, but I don't think it adds a huge amount to the sum of food culture, and particularly producers and local and regional food. I think BBC Good Food Show is a very well-established, successful event as well. They definitely have recognised that from a content point of view, they need to be looking at delivering some of the small producer side, but that's not where they earn their money. They earn their money from a lot of the non-food guys, and of course from the high street brands that, in a sense, the visitor can get just by, without buying a ticket, walking into their, everyday supermarket. So that's a very different approach, and one that I was very much involved with for some considerable amount of years, and still have a lot of time and respect for what they do, but felt that for me it's not really where I was and what I wanted to do.